Hey everybody, it's Faith Speaks, and I am so excited about this evening. I have a guest, a panel full of guests with a phenomenal history in media. And tonight we're going to talk about mental health in media. These are some people that I love who have watched me grow as a student into a professional. We have tonight my special guest, Miss Marcella Jones, Mr. Perri Williams, Professor Alvin Daniels, and the legendary Harold Lee Rush. You can give it up for him. I hear you. All right. So tonight we're going to talk about mental health in media. In my time as a student working in the radio stations, behind the scenes, I've seen a lot. And people think it's all glitz and glam when you're behind the microphone, when you're behind the camera, but they don't know that the personalities, they have a life. They have a life. They have things that they go through. And so tonight we're going to talk about how to self-care in media and what to look for when you're trying to get in this industry, because it's not all gold, but it is amazing to have the rewards of connecting with people, to have them to recognize you, to say, hey, you inspire me, just as these people on the panel have inspired me throughout the years. So I'm excited. You guys can unmute your mics right now and just say hi to everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Awesome.
Hello. What the deal, yo?
So the reason why, again, like I said, I wanted to do this was to bring highlight. We know that mental health is very important in society. And even with the pandemic going on, you know, people have lost of jobs. They have a lack of income coming in. They have family members, or maybe have a loved one who has passed away due to COVID-19. So anxiety, depression, sleepless nights, and worry can be a big factor. So today we're going to tie all of that in and get some great advice from our media personality and professionals on how to maintain your sanity in the media. And I'm going to first pose this first question to Dr. Rush. Let's talk about the early years. When did you know that you wanted to become a part of the media industry?
A lot older than you. No, just kidding. No, I actually got into radio by accident, but I started out in theater in high school. So I've been involved in the entertainment business for many years. Mm-hmm. But radio specifically was 1982 and started at WGCI. And like I said, I was by accident, but it allowed me to spend 10 years doing morning drive.
Wow.
And for those who know about morning drive, you got to be crazy or love this business, or maybe both. Mm-hmm. So, but the 15 years I spent teaching at Kennedy King College at WKKC, that was a real test of my mental health. Marcella Jones knows what I'm talking about.
But, I don't know what to say about that
one. Well, city colleges, there's a nickname for city colleges. I won't say it here. But no, the most fulfilling has been dealing with students because they're young and interesting and need guidance, even though some may not know it. But those who are willing to, who are open to that, mm-hmm. that can be the most fulfilling part of your life.
Definitely.
But as to your specific question, though, about dealing with your mental health, I just want to say this, and actually that's all I really can say. For those of us who have been in this radio business, whether it's professional or whatever level, we actually have something that allows us to maintain our mental health in a special way, and that's music.
Yes.
Okay. How many times have we allowed music to help us get through a troubled time or a troubled period? And so we're very blessed because we get to have music coming to us in 1,000 ways. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I would say, is that for me, music has been a lifesaver, a mind saver in many, many, many different instances.
Wow, that's awesome. I would definitely agree that music, it soothes the soul. I read something the other day where it stated that music can either, when you listen to the words, it can make you happy, but it also can, when you're sad, you're listening to the words. When you're happy, it's the music. But when you're sad, you're listening to the words. Mr. Alvin, your story is a little different because you're in television and film. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started?
I was failing a probability and statistics midterm at Boston University. And I said, God, if you get me out of this, you ain't got to worry about me going into no more business school. I passed the final, thank the Lord. I always had a talent for writing. I was able to start once I finished. I was working at city colleges at WYCC. And then I was able to teach at Kennedy King. One of the great things about faith is I was being laid off from the TV station, but I thought they'd keep me teaching. That didn't happen. God had a bigger plan. I was able to get my master's for free, and now I can teach anywhere. So I tell my students, do not look at life as, man, why did that happen to me? Look at it as, my grandfather used to say, don't get mad, get smart.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just grateful that my foundation kept me in that vein. And again, my old man said, if you love your work, you never work a day in your life. I love to get up every day because I get to teach as well as I get to shoot. And God is good.
Wow. Now, Marcella's story is a little different too. I would call it a faith walk as well, because, hey, she just walked into a station after dropping something off. Can you share with us how that happened?
Yeah, I actually was singing in a choir, in a community choir. And I would call the radio station like every other day, and I would ask them to play the song. And I knew that they didn't actually have the song because the song hadn't been released yet. It was going to be released like that Tuesday. But what I was trying to do was get, the program director familiar with who we were. And he said, I don't know who that is. I've called everywhere. They don't have the song. And I said, well, it's not out yet. And then he said, well, bring it up to the station. And that was my invitation. And I never forget the first time I went, I took the CD and I would take donuts and I would take coffee just to say thank you, because I'm that kind of girl. Just, I appreciate people. People don't have to be nice to you. They don't have to do anything for you. And so it was out of appreciation for playing our song. And the producer didn't come one day. And he said, well, do you mind answering the phone? I said, okay, that's all I knew how to do. I didn't know how to do anything else but answer the phone. And one thing led to another. And I began working with one of the students. Then I myself began taking classes. And I didn't know how to do anything else but I just knew how to answer the phones. And I never forget, I was in the studio and he would always say to me, Professor Miles would always say to me, make sure you're prepared. Get your cue cards, make sure you're prepared so that when I call you to tell you to open the mic. I didn't do that. I was so caught up in the music and so caught up in everything else. I never did that until that one morning he called and said, okay, open your mic. And I was like, I'm not ready yet. So that taught me that, and he says it all the time, failure to prepare is preparing to fail. And so I was not prepared, but that one failure or that one thing that may have been a setback for others was really a setup for me. And so it just encouraged me to continue. And to this day, I am now in commercial radio. So, wow. There's purpose for anybody, no matter who you are or what your past has been or what your story is. There's a journey and a purpose for everybody.
Wow, that's so true. Definitely be prepared. I remember working under you, and you was like, make sure you have your notebooks and make sure you have your cue cards. Be ready. I was caught up in the music because I'm a music girl. I love to sing, write. I love my gospel music. And she was like, boo, you can't play the songs that you want to play. You got to play the songs for the people. And so that changed my whole dynamic and looking at the scope. Hey, it's not about me. It's about the people that we're reaching. Mr. Perri, you have an interesting story as well, how you got into the business.
Well, I can actually go back because I really know how this happened. even though there's times I say I don't know how it happened. But when I was 8 years old, I was always intrigued with radio. I received a transistor radio, took it apart just to find out what made it tick. And as I moved into my teen years, I started listening intently to the radio, and I realized that sports guy, that news guy, they were the only ones that held that job at that particular station. So to get a position like that, it took probably a miracle. Just thinking about how many people were vying for that position. So then at that time, there were people that were saying, you got a voice for radio. You got to, and I was a security guard at that time. And I said, well, everyone's not lying. So things opened up for me where I was working at community radio stations. One of the worst things that happened for anyone at that particular time was being born in Chicago, because you're in the largest market. So they will not hire you with no experience. So I was very fortunate to end up going to a small market, Fort Wayne, Indiana, medium market, Cleveland, Ohio, and then back home. God planned that. I could never do that. I know people that have gone into broadcast school with me that never were able to land back at home. And then when I was able to get a position as the news anchor for, I think my first job was with Doug Banks. I was his news anchor. And then I said, man, I'm that one guy that has this job, this news job. And from that point, years started going by. I start seeing people like Harold and seeing people like Herb Kent. Matter of fact, I was more nervous around them than with Doug, because these are definite legends. I'm like, I used to listen to Harold with Bob Wall. You know, this is, and I was just intrigued with it, and still I'm excited about the industry, even to the point where I've created my own school. So 30 plus years, still doing it, still loving it. Someone asked me, did I want to retire? I said, retire from talking? Really? Really? Talking. I'm not building structures. I'm talking. I can talk until the end, really. So that's basically it in somewhat of a nutshell.
Wow. Who wants to retire from talking?
Right.
I see you. I see you. And see, all of you all have shared intimate stories, how you got started in television and in radio, but we know it's not always happy moments. When you're reporting the news or media content, there are things that happen in the news that you have to say, and they're not all good. How do you separate your emotions from what's happening in reality?
Wow.
Well, I guess I'm the only news guy on the panel, so I think I'm going to take a stab at it. Well, it's tough. It's tough to hear about 8 people getting gunned down, or a mother losing her children, things of that sort. And I think even if you are real about it on the air, people will understand. If you do get into some emotion, that you show that human side of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, this is how I do it. I try to get it over with and then deal with it off mic. Mm-hmm. Because when you're really thinking about things like this, even if there's, because even in scenarios where you're having tragedy in your own family, people don't know that. You go on the air and we say life happens, but we still have to be productive on the airwaves in spite of what's going on around us, or within our own immediate families, or within ourselves. So yeah, in that scenario, I would try to get it over with, not rush through it, but I'm like counting the seconds, and when it's done, okay, I can move on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. I think you all are too young to remember this, although Perri probably remembers this. But how would you like it if you're with, I was executive producer on air with Bob Wall, and at that time we were like the biggest morning show in terms of Black radio, and then all of a sudden he gets kicked out of radio through a personal scandal.
Yeah.
He and his wife were accused of sexually molesting their babysitter. So like that was top news in Chicago. And what was interesting is that you know, that's where I worked, right?
Right.
So the news all, in fact, it was so deep because the news stations all sent the black newscasters or the black reporters to me to try to get a story. And because I knew them all, you know, we all knew each other. And so that was very, very traumatic because that was the end of his career here in Chicago. And that's how Doug first got into mornings at WGCI. And he and I started out together creating a morning show there, King Banks and Company. And so that was even bigger than Bob Wall and I, which was the first, as far as we know, the first black-white morning show duo in the major market. But as you all know, with Doug Banks, that became even bigger. So, you know, things that you can't even imagine could be worse, can get worse, because, you know, they almost went to jail. And you know, I didn't know whether I was going to have a job, but it turned out to be bigger.
Wow.
So, you know, it's funny how life is.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's why we're talking about mental health in media, because some things can be to the point where you don't know the state of your job when something else happens or happens in your own personal life. And now you are in a place where you have to make a choice about your own mental health and your own family stability. And I know that in media and television, radio, the whole nine, that it's long hours. You have to balance your home life and balance, you know, your family life, your if you're married, all those things take precedent, you know, when you are in this type of industry. Tell me, how do you balance home life?
I've been married and divorced 3 times, so that's something.
Well, I think the funny part about that is when I was first married, you know, I had just gotten into the business. And if somebody said, come shoot my bar mitzvah, whatever you want me to shoot, I was there to shoot. And there were times when I would be out shooting and my wife would be like, where are you at? And I'd be like, I'll be there in an hour, and get home 3 hours later and look at her like, what's your problem? So I think with wisdom, it became evident that you cannot be in any type of relationship like that. You've got to respect that other person's time like you respect your time. So I say that, you know, as you get older, as you get more seasoned, and as you get wiser, you realize how to balance the two. But again, when you're younger, hey, it's all about the love of the game. It's all about the love of the game. Now you do things a little bit more smarter.
Have anyone...
You know, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I always say, because when I start, and I totally agree with you, you can never, ever get time back. Time is something that you can never, ever go back and get. And so when I first started, you know, I was that busy bee, always, always, whenever you need me, I'm there, work. I miss, many birthday parties, many weddings, many family get-togethers. I missed a lot because of that, and you can't go back and get that time. And so it's very important that you balance anything that you do, in life, because a radio or media is going to be around for a particular time. And so you want to make sure that when you've completed that time, that you still have a balanced relationship with your family, with your friends, because they don't forget that. And so that's the challenging side of it all, is that you make sure that you balance your time, and you are important too. Always remember that you are important as well.
Yes, putting yourself first, eating right, resting if you can. I remember Mr. Perri shared, a time that he, wasn't feeling well, and he had to push through that. And so when people hear you, they don't see behind the scenes, they don't see that behind the scene. They don't see that you're in pain, or, your stomach is hurting, or you might have a sore throat. Self-care is very important. And my thing is, how do you deal with it? Because I know a lot of people who have picked up coping mechanism, drinking, drugs, whatever their choice might be. And they still push through and they get behind their microphone as if they are okay. How have you all been able to balance personal habits, or have you picked up any habits that, you probably wasn't too proud of?
Anybody want to go first? I can go first. I think one of the habits for me for this whole pandemic has probably been the eating thing. That's the one thing. but I have learned though through all of this, because it has been a challenge. And a lot of times people think that when they hear you, on the air, and they hear you're in this great mood, you have to prepare yourself for that mood. And anything that's going on around you, you pretty much have to mute it. And, we go through things just like everybody else. So can you imagine every day, you have to report that there were a number of people that, passed away from COVID, and, you have to keep reporting this news, and then you're hearing in your personal family that, a lot of things are happening. That can become very overwhelming. And so you have to get your mind in a place. That's why I always say, people laugh at me all the time, because what I've done is, there was this microphone that I saw, and it's the cordless microphone, and I get my microphone and literally sing into my microphone like as much as I can. I have gotten an arcade game that I literally brought upstairs from the basement, and I use that to play. And it sounds crazy, but that is my way to disconnect from everything, just so that I can still feel some type of sanity. Because you have to be mindful that if you do not, you will get so caught up on everything that's going on that you will forget what is real and what is not. You will disconnect from those things. And so it's really important to find some type of balance, whatever that is. If that means you have to turn off your phone, at a certain time, if that means that, I remember when we were traveling, to the radio station before we started doing our shows at home, I would always talk on the phone from the time I get into my truck until the time I got to my garage. And when I got to my garage, I would always say, it's time to go. I'm getting to the garage now. And this time that's after the garage, I have to unwind and get a little bit of me time, because it's been about everyone else all day. So that has been my way of kind of coping, just doing some fun things and just kind of disconnecting myself.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
I've actually learned some things from listening to you guys, because my experiences have been a little bit different. I was fortunate in that I came into the business during what we call the second golden age of radio. And I got to work with some legendary people, some I had grown up listening to, and never dreamed that I would not only get to work with them, but I would get to know them as friends. But it was a heady time. And I won't spill any tales about some of the folks that I work with who, when you mentioned coping, they coped during the 80s like y'all wouldn't believe. But one of the things that was very, very helpful, which somebody mentioned a little while ago, is this. I had great examples to learn from. And that, that was, you couldn't get past that. I mean, you couldn't buy that. We went on vacation. Vacation for me was going on the trips we took, where we took listeners to various parts of the world. We went to Jamaica a couple of times. We went to the Bahamas. I even went to London a couple of times, and I went to Africa, went to Senegal. Those were healing times for me.
Yes.
But what it does, though, it creates a kind of craziness, because I got to be so well known from doing radio and television that literally I could not go out of the house. I couldn't go to the grocery store. This is a true story. I would go to the grocery store, and inevitably somebody would say, "Hey, Harold Rush," and they would follow me around the store, and whatever I put in my basket, they would put in their basket.
Oh my gosh.
And that's how crazy it was, right? And my wife at that time, she hated to go to the show with me because if we were in the show and something was funny and I laughed, my laugh is so well known. Inevitably, somebody say, "Perri, rush in the house," you know. So you have all kinds of things but they help keep me balanced because you know, the people will keep you balanced because they'll hold you up, but they won't hesitate to shoot you in the kneecaps. You deserve it.
And on top of that, you were very handsome. So I'm sure.
Oh wow.
They was
Let me make sure I get that part on tape here.
It's on there. I saw that picture of you. All right. You looking for a fourth wife? No, I'm kidding. What made me ask this question is in the past weeks, I have been watching like replays of Unsung and all these great artists, all of these great people, musicians and singers and writers and composers started out good. They started out great. They had a passion for music and wanted to reach the people. And then somewhere down the line, they got caught up. They got caught up in drugs and alcohol and being influenced by outside sources. And some of it was their choice. However, it didn't end well for some of them. How do you maintain your sanity?
Well, I think Marcella said it best that time is something God ain't making no more of. So with whatever time I have left, I want to spend it doing what I love to do and what he would have me to do. I've never been the one that wanted to be out of control or allow anything else to put me out of control. So I'm grateful that I never got anything to negative, but I'm grateful for music, as they said, and I love to ride. So since I can't get on the plane, I'll get in the car, I'll drive it to Baha'i Temple. I just drive, and that's how I'm able to get things off my mind and keep sanity, driving.
Wow. That's good. That's good. Yeah. I like crossword puzzles. And I would sit there and do about 3 or 4 pages at a time. And that's how I maintain my sanity dealing with children and everything I got going on, which is not all bad, which is not all bad.
That's the first time I've heard anybody say crossword puzzles.
Right.
Really? That find and search? Oh, I can get into it. Yes, indeed.
That's the beautiful part about faith.
It's peaceful.
Yeah.
Peaceful.
Faith is a hustler. Hustlers figured out. And that's what I say about faith. She gonna figure it out. Whatever it is, she gonna figure it out.
Wow. Thank you so much. That's true. I remember doing a broadcast with you when I first came to the university. And I'm like, who, me? You want me on your show as a co-host? Like, and we played house music in between. OMG. It was thebomb.com.
That's right.
And thank you for that. It's so true. I am going to figure it out because I believe that in not being stuck, most people get stuck in what it is that they really desire to do. I have a thing called the bounce back spirit, where if something do happen to me, hey, it happened. I'm going to move on. I'm going to move forward. And so I'm not going to let anything hinder my progress. And you guys have literally, I think it's almost collectively about 20 to 30 years in the industry. I mean, you know, individually, but collectively. And you all have
about
seen
100 years with radio.
Right. Total. So what advice would you give someone that is passionate about getting into the media industry? Mr. Perri?
Yes. I would say stick to your principles. Maybe I should change that a little bit because some people may enter in with no principles. But stick to doing the right thing, because there can be influences within the industry that can sway you. And, you know, not everybody that's a talent is a model. I learned that. They could be the most talented person in the world, but they can't give you any constructive criticism. It's always negative, things of that sort. So hold on to you, place value on yourself as you enter into the industry. Of course, you want to probably impress people. That's a given, but at the same time, place value on yourself. I can't say it any other way, because I've seen people where the industry has eaten them up alive because they got with the wrong group. There's a wrong group in the industry. In every industry, there's a wrong group. And if you continue to follow that path, it's not a good ending. So I would just say, be true to yourself. Place
That's
value.
good.
Yeah.
Place value and be true to yourself. Professor, you look like you was ready to preach up there.
No, I just say get started. I mean, again, so
He
many
is
people say
already
they wanna do
preaching.
stuff, but you got to get started. Harold Lee Rush said, "Hey, you got any parts, bro? I got parts for days if that's what you want to do." So get started, and if you're with the right energy, the Most High will lead you where you need to go. But so many people, man, I want to do this, man. Well, have you put together a demo reel? Have you done anything on YouTube? Get started, and once you get started, life will guide you where you need to go.
I agree with you, Professor. I think some of the young people, some, not all, think that they don't have to do the work.
That's right.
There's work involved.
You got
to
to
put you got to work. This
That's
is
right.
not something as a given.
That's right.
It's not.
That's right.
Wow.
That's part of what's on my door. The dream is free, but the hustle is sold separately.
It's
And I
on
would
there.
say this.
It's so funny that you say that, because and I even share with Faith, a lot of times people look at what you do and they just see the glamour in it all, but don't see the work. There are a lot of times I am going to bed at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and so the entire night has gone by. I'm going into a whole nother day, and then I'm getting 2 or 3 hours of sleep where I have to get up and do a show, and then I have to sound like I'm excited every single day. And so whatever it is that you're feeling, you pretty much have to just let go of all of that and know that it's not about you. One of the things that I would encourage is to never ever forget who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. If you forget purpose and why you're doing what you're doing, you're going to get lost and caught up in the whole Hollywood of it all. You never ever want to forget purpose, and you never want to forget why you are doing what you're doing, because that will lead you and guide you to continue to be yourself. And if nothing else, always remain you. You know, it takes energy to be someone else. Doesn't take no energy to be you. Just be yourself.
Wow.
People will love you for who you are. Like it or love it. They'll appreciate the fact that you're real and that you're being you from beginning to end.
Wow, that's great advice.
To anybody, especially young people, this part is very important in my mind, and that is learn the business. The business, and that means the entertainment business. Learn the business of business. Some folks say, well, I'm in it for the show, but it's 2 words, it's show business. And you need to learn the business. And that means all the different aspects. It's like folks that come in, that would come in with me, and I'd ask them, I say, why do you want to be in radio? They say, well, I like to talk. I say, hold it. That's not a good enough reason. You need to learn how to work the business. And so that's what I would say in terms of Perri, for example. He learned the business. Marcella, she definitely learned the business. She learned the business well enough to have her 1 foot over here and 1 foot over there. The professor, he was at YCC, and that's the story that's waiting to be done for the world to understand what happened over there. And you are living proof of that, Professor. That was a crime, what happened. So we all have things that we can give, but we got to know the business. I'm done.
That's it. You have to know the business, because there is no business without show business. And you better manage your business too. I learned that too. Marcella would say, Faith, hey, stay in your own lane. It's okay to have a few friends. You know, I done learned throughout the years. Come on, somebody.
Yeah.
Okay to have a few friends, but learn the business. Soak up all that you can. Ask questions. You know, be right there. Be present. And wow, I'm so excited. You guys have literally made my year, and it has just begun. Uh, Professor Daniels, Harold Lee Rush, Perri Williams, and Miss Marcella Jones. You guys, man, can express how much I appreciate you all. I stated that in the beginning, but I'm gonna keep saying it over and over again. It is a saying that you should give a person their flowers while they are alive. So I'm gonna give y'all virtual flowers right now. Okay, you received them.
Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you.
That was good.
Did bread come with this?
Does what?
Girl, yeah.
That
Does
goes
what,
way
Mr.
back.
Rush?
That goes way back, babe. Do bread come with this? You remember that, don't you,
I
Perri?
need
I do. That's why I'm about to fall out of my
I need
chair.
your info. I need your info. I need to know where I send my offering because you preached on today.
Come on, somebody.
You preached today.
Wow. So this is one thing I would want to know, where everybody would want to know. What is it, and you all can answer individually, what is it that you would have become if you had not gone into the media industry? You
Well,
laughing
I don't
too
know about
hard.
anybody else, but I would probably still be doing weaves and bumper
Right.
curls because I was a hairstylist. Okay. And I still have my license. Look, I still have my license to this day because you never ever know when you're gonna go back to doing weaves and bumper curls.
You never know.
Side hustle. I like it. I like it.
You never know.
Perri, you
That's
said
one of the first things I remember learning about Marcella. When I was here talking about weaves and all that stuff, I said, you know, too much just to be a hobby.
that's funny. That's funny. Mr. Perri?
I can't think of doing anything else. I mean, like I say, when I was 8 years old, I really believe that there's a scripture that says God has given gifts unto men. And when I had that passion, I really believe that was something that was innate inside of me. The voice, my father's voice was better than mine. And, you know, I'm able to surpass what he even dreamed of doing, you know, so I'm in the right place at the right time. I don't think there was any other way or any other thing that I would have been. I'm doing what I was designated to do. That's just the way I feel about it.
Wow, that's awesome. For me, and it's not about me tonight, but I'm just going to share this. For me, my father used to have a radio show when we were little. He was a pastor, and we would go to the radio station while he preached and taught. And I didn't really fully understand then, but when I got to Kennedy King College, I didn't know what I was taking up. And 2 cubicles down, somebody yelled out, "The media communications department is amazing." And I'm like, out the blue. And I said, okay. But God brought it back to my memory as a child that I would fall asleep listening to the radio, Peter Popoff and classical music and jazz music. And it all made sense. I've always had a love for communication. So here we are, guys. Here we are, 21st century, you know, using virtual technology to talk about what we love the most. And I just want to thank you guys for joining me on this evening. I just want to advise those that are watching to maintain your health, maintain your sanity, do what it is that you love to do, and don't let anybody stop you. So before we close this conversation, take us out, Mr. Daniels. What you got going on?
Basically, I have my TV show, Preacher's Kids, The Untold Stories. It's on, the old episodes on Amazon Prime. The new episodes are coming to Tubi TV and Apple TV in April.
Awesome. Yes, I'm looking forward to that. Mr. Williams.
Yes, I'm the president of World Communication Institute. We just started in October with classes and courses focused on broadcast. We have a voiceover class and a entertainment broadcast class that starts on March 1st, this Monday. And if you're interested, you can email me at WCI 4U, that's FORYOU at gmail.com. And just simply enter I'm interested.
Awesome. Miss Jones.
I'm trying to figure out how can I say this. Well, actually, I am currently a media personality at a commercial radio station, and I'm also the program director of WKKC Kennedy King College. And I can be reached. I'm on Instagram. I am on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. Marcella Jones 1.
Awesome. Awesome. Mr. Rush, any last words?
Yeah, you can find me on my podcast, Harold Lee Rush podcasting, and also I got a blog. But my main thing I want folks to understand is come March is Chicago's birthday. And some years ago, I started Chicago History Month. So I want you to look that up and participate. ChicagoHistoryMonth.com.
Awesome. Awesome. You guys have amazing things going on. And I'm looking to support each and every one of you. And it's been a journey. It's been a journey that we are embarking upon. And there is so much more that is happening, that's going to happen in our lives. So we can look forward to an amazing year despite of what's going on. And thank you again, guys. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. You guys have an amazing evening. Thank you for watching. And remember, just a little bit of faith is all you need.
Thank you, Faith.